The second round of the 2014 16 Street Racing League will see drivers head to Sebring International Raceway. That is next, and it is here, exclusively live on RaceSpotTV. From the oval of Homestead Miami Speedway 1 week ago, we move on to the road course for the first time here in the 16 Street Racing League as drivers head to the 17 Bend Sebring International Raceway. Will Vincent along with Aaron Likens here on RaceSpotTV. Qualifying is just getting underway right now, and we're going to get ourselves right down to the action in just 1 moment's time. Drivers, we've got 24 of them or so, 30 of them even, looking to get themselves as high up they can in the qualification grid, as the guys are already circulating on the racetrack today, trying to get themselves as good a lap as they possibly can. And Aaron, good to have you back. And Sebring, last year, absolutely crazy race. We're expecting pretty much exactly the same thing here today.
Oh, yes, we are. Last year was just a phenomenal road race. Sort of got off to an auspicious start with contact between Joshua Chen and Dennis Garis, but that set up an interesting race with Tim Holgate winning on a alternate stop strategy, which and Courtney Terrell, who last year started with contact in this race, clawed his way back up to a podium. So this track lends itself to a lot of twists and turns and a lot of mysteries that will unfold here tonight.
Yep, Tim Miller, who was one of the first people to come past the start-finish line. Christopher Demerit on provisional pole position for the time being. Brendan Lichtenberg just completing his first lap, as does Gary Borgenhagen. Times are flying through the field. There you can see Andreas Warner working along with him in the RC Coda car, working himself out of turn of 1, down towards turn number 2. Some very fast drivers working themselves on the racetrack. We've got some big names still to come as well. just keeping an eye out actually on Courtney Tail to see where he is. He is down the field for the time being. The 21st place hasn't yet done a lap, but we work along board with him, Aaron, as he comes down into the sweeping S's.
And one of the very easy to overcook this section of the track. That right-hander so easy, and then this turn is so important. It leads on to one of the longest, if not the longest, straightaway. Your lap can be made or lost in that corner, and then coming to the bridge corner. This is a corner that I have gone through hundreds, thousands of times, and it's one of those corners that you can do it 1,000 times, and you just always feel you just left a little bit on the table. Let's see how he gets through here and what type of lap time he gets.
Yeah, so down towards start-finish line then for Courtney Tail, 1:14.873. That moves him up into provisional third place on the grid. But it is currently this guy, Christopher Demerit, who is leading the way as he works himself down the Ullman straightaway, back down towards Sunset Bend, turn number 17, right along board of him as he comes down into that final corner. And Christopher Demerit looking very strong in that 144 Team Velociraptor car right now.
Very good line. A little bit of oversteer on exit. Kept it under control. Let's see if he improves. Does he? No, he doesn't. Starting a flyer lap, I believe.
Yes, he is. Christopher Demerit. As also Tim Holgate just moved himself up into second place away from our screen. So right now it's Demerit from Holgate from Warner. Warner's just moved back up into third place. Borkenhagen fourth. Brendan Lichtenberg fifth. Then it is Terrell sixth. Young in seventh. Eric Davis eighth. Tim Miller ninth. And then Rob Ungerlings round out your top 10. We are staying with Christopher Demerit for just one moment's time to ride back along board of him as he comes down into the hairpin, turn number 7. And then these couple of corners afterwards is where things get really technical. 7, exit 7, through 8, 9, 10 into Cunningham is where you've really got to be careful, especially in that flying lap, you don't overcut your tyres.
Oh, we saw in warm-up a lot of drivers spun out in this corner right here. You got to get the brake bias just right, and even though this track is elevation neutral, this track very bumpy, and this track also a little bit of sacrifice. Do you want to speed down the straights, or do you gear for these more twisty bits? And if you don't set it up right, you can easily spin out.
Ryan Norton moves himself up into 4th place for the time being. So you can see the top 20 on the left-hand side of your screen. Some drivers haven't yet done a qualifications lap. As we carry on, we're looking at Demerit as he concludes his lap. Will he be able to go faster? We have got Tim Holgate on the racetrack. He's still got Norton on the racetrack. Borkenhagen, Lichtenberg, Terrell on the racetrack as well as Demerit sweeps through Sunset Bend one more time. Works himself out of the corner, back down towards start-finish line. Will this lap be any faster? Answer to that question is going to be no, it will not. Tim Holgate, as you say, he is on track. This is a warm-up lap for him. He will come and he will see the start-finish line to start what will be his final lap in just one moment's time as we ride along.
New pole sitter.
And yes, Lichtenberg has just gone to the top of the timing stand. So there you can see Holgate just starting a lap now, but there you can see Brendan Lichtenberg is now the fastest guy on the racetrack as he just pulls his car off. But Brendan Lichtenberg is now fastest.
And he's got to be happy with that. That is 1 second faster than what he ran in warm-up. Holgate in warm-up actually did a 140.209. That would be good for pole, but it's one thing to do it in warm-up, but when it counts, that's when it matters. And can Holgate do it this lap? Depending on his fuel load, this might be his last chance.
Yes, and one of the differences between this season and last is that we do not have ourselves open qualifying. It's closed course qualifying, unlike last year. And of course, as far as practice times goes, you will get the draft helping you up as Peterson moves himself now up into 3rd place on the racetrack. We continue to ride, and Holgate spins it around. That will be his lap done. He will have one more opportunity. I don't think he'll have the time to do that, however. So it looks like Holgate is out. He will start no higher than 3rd place. Riding along board now with Chad Peterson in 3rd place in the number 29 car. Having a look at him as he works himself down towards the hairpin. But Peterson got some good speed there. And I have to say, you've got a Broken Arrow driver from Team Velociraptor driver, then a Broken Arrow driver in your top 3. Of course, you've got Holgate then in 4th for Nat Racing. Borkenhagen in 5th for Broken Arrow. Andres Warner Privateer in 6th. Top 3 rows. You've got quite a lot of different teams being represented here.
And that is so great to see. This new car really has sort of leveled out the playing field, and I'm expecting this to I'm expecting this all season long. I don't think we are going to have one driver or two drivers that run away with this championship as we have seen in years past. Well, last year was a 3-horse battle, but this season, 4, 5, 6, maybe even more drivers are going to be in contention, and this season's going to come down to the final race.
Getting a replay of Randy Crosno just getting loose down into the final corner, Sunset Bend. And this is exactly what you're talking about, Aaron. So many ways to mess the corner up. And even if you do get it right one lap, you do exactly the same thing the next lap, and it can be so difficult for you to actually make it through that corner with speed and without creating an issue.
And Peterson coming across the line. Does he improve? He does. Put him on the point, a 140.112. Getting it done in the final seconds. Wow.
Yep, so there you see Chad Peterson, 140.113, currently fastest in qualifications. I've got to keep an eye out on Courtney Towell as he comes past. Will he be able to improve his fastest time? Answer to that one is no, 140.724 for him. And that is qualifying pretty much now in the book. So, to run through your starting grid for this, the second round of the 2014 16th Street Racing League here on RaceSpotTV. It is going to be on pole position here today. Rather entertainingly in the final laps of this race. Sorry, if this race of qualifying even is what I meant. You're going to get yourself Chad Peterson on the front row, Brendan Lichtenberg alongside him, a broken aero lockout. Chris Demerit for Team Velociraptor Racing in third place, Tim Holgate in 4 for Team Nap Racing. P5 to Gary Borkenhagen, P6 to Andreas Warner, Ryan Norton in P7, Courtney Tell in P8, Richard de Jong in P9, and then Eric Davis runs out your top 10. Tim Miller in 11th with Ellis Stevens in 12, Rob Ungerlinks in 13th, Carrie Bettenhausen 14th, Steve Richardson, Randy Crosno in P15-16, Austin Espetit in P17, Brian Simpson 18, Joe Branch in 19th, and then Jared Turnbull running out your top 20. You can see the rest of qualifying times coming up on your screen. What we do know about Sebring, Aaron, these first couple of laps are often insane.
I was hoping you'd toss that to me. Looking at the results last year, of course, we had the incident between Joshua Chin and Dennis Garis last season on lap 1, two of the best drivers on road. But last year we had 11 of the 28 drivers crash out in the first half of the race. We had two major incidents early last year, and if you are looking at points, you gotta have to keep that in mind. All these drivers know that the first opening laps here, very hectic. With the brake bias, if you get it wrong, lose it under braking. There really isn't many places to go on this track. So, oh my, this start, these drivers gotta be nervous. And there really is nowhere safe. We've seen in the past 2 seasons the front row wreck on the first lap.
Yep, so there you see the guys on the track getting themselves to go on a pace lap, one solitary pace lap here at Sebring International Raceway. 17 corners on this racetrack, some good passing opportunities, Alan. Arguably, you've got one into turn 7, then down into turn 17. You can try and make a pass in turn 1, but it can be incredibly difficult to do so.
Passing in turn 1, you've got to be clear. Side by side into turn 1 just has bad news written all over it. But you're right, for road courses, this track has a lot of passing zones, and also you get a lot of switchbacks where you might be able to stick your nose a little bit on the inside, force the driver in front to take a little bit of a different line, and then you can cross them up and then cross them back. This track is going to lead to some, looking at the times, we're going to see some fantastic racing here today.
Yep, as we're having a look at the number 31 machine there of Andreas Warner. I see the guys still working themselves on this pace lap. We're having a look above the trees here at Sebring. And we've got a number, of course, of onboard cameras for you to check out over the course of today's race. One of them is this guy, Andreas Warner. You can see him in the third row of the grid. Just alongside him, he has that number 24 machine. We've also got an onboard today with Tim Holgate as he gets set to do battle here at Sebring International Raceway. Got an onboard camera as well with good old Nefri Arg in the 04 Pentor car. And then finally got an onboard with Joe Branch in the number 28 machine and with the guy who will be starting this race here today at the very front, Chad Peterson, in the number 29 car. So then, Aaron, plenty of racing to go here at Sebring. We know strategy can be an important part of this series. We know last year it all came down to downforce levels. Strategy could be key again here, especially as those tyres start to go off.
Yeah, that's one thing we didn't really have last season was tire fall off, which allowed for the winner to have a different strategy. I mean, I remember last year was one of the most entertaining road races because we didn't know who was going to win with the pit strategy till the final 2 laps, which very much oddly, that's to throw history out there, sort of how the 1959 USGP here at Sebring went with Bruce McLaren just winning in the final 2 laps on a strategy call.
As the pace car, so working itself now down into turn 15, into 16, and that journey down towards Le Mans. It is going to be Chad Peterson starting this race from the front there. As you can see, these cars work themselves now on the back straight away. There you can see your top couple of rows as they work themselves down towards Sunset Bend. You can see those lights are off on top of the pace car. We will go racing this time by, and what a beautiful sight it is to get these guys lining up 2 wide thereabouts here at Sebring to start the first road course race of the campaign. On the right hand side of your screen you can see that the orange, blue and pink car of Chad Peterson working himself down in towards Sunset Bend, about to let it all go rip here at Sebring International Raceway. Pace car comes down towards pit road, and the second round of the 2014 16th Street Racing League will start right now.
A very good start by Peterson. Lichtenberg, who we saw last season on restarts on the ovals, not really get a good jump, but hey, as long as you're single file in turn 1, that's a winning call right there.
First couple of rows are all through without issue. Got a little bit of sliding at the rear of the field, but everyone, are they going to make it through okay, Aaron, as they come down into the complex for the first time? This is where Cook had his issue last year.
And this is where Terrell had his issue. It looks like the top 8 are at least clean through here. Really, lots of good give and take. I don't really believe this. Wow.
Working themselves down towards the hairpin for the first time. It is still Peterson who leads the way as things are very close at the front of the field. There you can see your race leader, Brendan Lichtenberg, and we'll ride along board with the guy who's running in that second place. That is Brendan Lichtenberg. Sorry, Chad Peterson's leading way as Lichtenberg goes a little bit wide there. This is going to allow Christopher Demerit to be all over his rear as they work themselves now down towards this sweeping section of corners.
And this is one part, if you're in the middle of the pack, this car really gets aero tight. If you didn't practice with that many cars in front of you, this can be a very difficult time now. Very easy to lose the air on the front and maybe block up the brakes and have a very quick spin.
Working on board with Courtney Terrell as he is pushing on the rear of Ryan Norton in the battle for 8th place on the racetrack. Now a good start to this race by Norton, good start by Terrell as the guys work themselves down towards Sunset Bend for the first time. There you can see your overall race leader, that is Chad Peterson, working himself through the trees, under the bridge, down to complete the first lap of today's event. And Peterson, good start to this event, a nice early lead as well, 2.1 seconds over Brendan Lichtenberg.
With that size of a lead, well, I have to wonder either Lichtenberg just nailed the quali, and Lichtenberg's gone.
Oh, so let's get a look at that. You can see Lichtenberg is falling down our timing and storing screens. There
he is
wrecked. Lichtenberg. He is out of the race. Here is a replay of what happened to him.
Just got it a little bit wide in turn 1, and we talked about the trickiness of turn 1 going side by side, but man, if you drop your right rear off, it is very hard to save, and for Lichtenberg, he could not make the save, and his race comes to a very abrupt end after an incredible qualifying show. And we have another crash in the field. It looks like Borkenhagen and Courtney Terrell have come together.
Yep, so we'll stay with this replay, then we'll go to the next one. This is Brendan Lichtenberg in the 12th car, coming down in towards turn number 1. You can see that car is going to step loose, and there he is, Brendan Lichtenberg, just slamming into the Armco barrier there. Then what we'll do is we'll have a look to see what happened with a couple of the other people to say, Courtney Terrell. We'll have a look on board of him. See, he did have an incident with, I believe, Gary Borkenhagen. So there was an incident of Borkenhagen that we are going to stay with and check out, figure out what went on down there. But sad to see Borgenhagen out so early on in this event.
I think both cars are still running. It was a very slow impact, so I think maybe just wing damage. In fact, Borgenhagen running fit, that is bad to see, and for back-to-back years, Courtney Terrell has issues early on at Sebring, so I'm sure Terrell is not a fan of Sebring.
No, as what will happen is you'll see Courtney Terrell coming alongside now as they come down into the corner. The two make contact, and there you can see Borgenhagen cars all trying to swarm past and getting himself back out onto the racetrack. We'll get one final look at that, but after the first lap being nice and calm and steady, lap 2 was a lot more crazy, Aaron.
Oh my goodness, and for Borgenhagen and Terrell, both have stayed out. They were inside the top 10. Terrell down to 10th. Borgenhagen, the big loser, they're 5th to 13th, but both cars look solid, so I think they are both going to be good to go.
Yeah, as you can see, our super slow-mo camera back to live action, and Gary Borgenhagen is currently classified in the 13th position. Courtney Terrell in 10th. There you can see confirmation Terrell still running inside the top 10, but got a lot of work to do in the remaining stages of this race. Tim Holgate's now up into the second place, but he's 3.4 seconds behind your overall race leader. And for Holgate, at least he doesn't have to worry about traffic in the early going. He can now keep those tyres nice and cool and hope after fourth place on the starting grid for him that he can use this and translate it into a solid podium, Aaron.
Yeah, Holgate 2 years ago was the epitome of consistency. Last year, Holgate had the habit of having a clean race, and he would make one mistake, and from that point on, he just never could really get his confidence as driving back, and that one small mistake led to a bigger mistake, and if it weren't for that, he easily would have been champion last year. So right now, it's about logging laps. The speed differential, I have to wonder if maybe Peterson started with just a little bit lighter fuel, might be on a different strategy for the speed that Peterson's running compared to what they did in warm-up, 3/10 faster again. I don't know, maybe Peterson's just that much quicker. Then again, this track is synonymous with alternate strategies.
You saw Gary Borgenhagen there just getting past Kerry Bettenhausen in the battle for P12 on the racetrack. Nice, simple, clean pass. One driver who is also on the move going side by side, Tim Miller, trying to work with Courtney Terrell on the racetrack, I believe. No, it's Rob Unglings even. They're in main side by side, but Tim Miller moves himself up a position on the racetrack, but now you can see that Unglings is going to try and respond as they work down to the hairpin, Aaron.
Yeah, he's going to have to really be brave to do that. Well, maybe not so much brave, as that wouldn't have been a good move, but this is where you can really start. If he would have been a little bit closer, Rob would have been able to cross him up, make Tim Miller take a different line, just not able to do there. And now for Unglings, Terrell is within striking distance, not that time.
Yeah, and you can and Miller's off,
there he
and he spins it around. That is down at turn number 10, Cunningham corner. Tim Miller, after just being able to get himself up that position, he's got himself some front wing damage. I think this could be it for Tim Miller. He's having to wait for all of these guys to go past. He's losing himself about 30 seconds on the racetrack. Now he can finally get going. But Tim Miller, what a shame after what had been a great couple of corners for him.
No, a great couple of corners, and it seems anybody we watch right now has issues. But Miller, he really nosed it in there. I think his suspension might be okay, but now it's going to be a long 31 more laps just trying to tick off positions. Very depressing now if his car is okay. Sometimes if you have an incident like that, and there he goes, he's off again. So there was damage that's going to end Miller's night.
Yeah, as we're getting ourselves a replay of this, and say that run down into turn number 10, Cunningham corner. Nice on the entry, then you can just see he loses it on the exit, and it's such a shame after what had been a great lap for him. Tim Miller looking as though he's now on pit road, and it looks as though that he will be classified as out of the race. Such a shame for Tim Miller, because he's had a very good couple of seasons, really been improving the last year or so.
Absolutely, and just the balance of the car, that I don't know if maybe the bumps caught him out, just stepped on it a little bit too much. Maybe he looked in his mirror, the car behind him, Unglings, went wide just a little bit, and sometimes when a car takes a different path, even though they're not attacking you, you just look up momentarily in your mirror and see the different line, and when you step on the gas, you're not mentally there where you need to be, and wheel spin, there you go, race over.
Taking it in with a battle outside of the top 15 that's going on right now with Jared Turnbull in 16th, Brian Simpson in the 17th position, and you can just see as we cycle that camera around, you've got John Porzik running in the 18th position, as Turnbull's had it off as well by the looks of it.
Yes, he is off, and let's see what happened. A very odd looking off here. Might have caught the curbing, just I don't know what happened there.
We'll have a look. We've got the replay up now. And this is actually the same corner, the run down into Cunningham that we saw Tim Miller having his incident one lap ago. Working himself out the corner, cut the curb. He was flying through here. Then does that car just get loose on him? Yes, it does. That's very weird to see. That car just got snapped loose on him there, Aaron.
I have to think maybe he was running an aggressive setup and his tires just heated up too much. When the tires heat up, that you can lose it like that. A very bizarre looking incident, but I have to wonder if maybe the bumps. This track is hard on tires, if maybe the setup and the tires just didn't like each other.
So then, our first 5 laps of this event are scored complete. It's Chad Peterson leading the way right now from Tim Holgate by 5.2 seconds on the racetrack. Holgate, there you can see him on your screen. He's got about a 1 second cushion to Christopher Demerit, who runs in the 3rd spot.
Demerit spins!
Big wiggle there from Holgate, and yeah, there you see Holgate, Demerit at the same time spinning it. One is spinning at the same time there. Cunningham Corner has been the place that all of these drivers seem to have had issues today, but it was synchronized spinning for the masses there, because you had Demerit first spinning, and then you had Andreas Warner spinning literally 1 second further back.
That was where in warm-up, cars just did not like that corner, and it's playing true in the race. Demerit spins out a 3rd, and lucky for both drivers that spun, they didn't hit anything, and that's kind of hard to do. We've already seen a couple spins where the drivers weren't so fortunate. So for Demerit now, gotta get back on it, keep your mind in the game, and not let it phase you. It's hard to do. He was on the podium, but he's got the speed to get it back. He's going to go. Oh, no. He was going to look on the inside of Eric Davis. Eric Davis said no, and if I were Demerit right now, that would make me a little hot under the collar. Let's see if he can maintain his emotions and get around Davis.
Yeah, as you see there, Andreas Warner, as he comes back onto the track, look at the melee of cars behind him. Thankfully just able to hang on there from Eric Davis at the time, but then he goes off again. That means that now Andreas Warner falls down to the 5th position, moving Ryan Norton up into P4. And it does seem to be that Cunningham Corner is the really difficult corner here today. We've now seen 4 drivers have issues there. And this guy, Tim Holgate, actually, he almost had an issue himself down into Cunningham Corner. And I wouldn't be surprised, Aaron, if Holgate getting loose forced Demerit to just have to check up a little bit as they work themselves down into Cunningham again, which then led to Demerit, as he got onto the power, then just sliding away. And again from Holgate, we saw a big wiggle from him that time.
In warm-up, it looked like Holgate was practicing for drifting in that corner. Every time he went there with full opposite lock. So, of all the corners on the track, his car is not suited for that corner. And it's showing in the time, he's losing 1.5 seconds a lap right now.
As we're having a look now at the battle from Eric Davis to Christopher Demerit, about 4 tenths of a second on the racetrack. Of course, Demerit spun it last time around. That's the reason why he's now out of position. He lost 10 seconds that last lap, putting him out of the contention for the time being. There's still a lot of racing here to go at Sebring, as now we'll see Demerit potentially going to try and line up to make a pass. They come down towards Sunset Bend, Aaron.
Gonna go to the outside. Maybe he used the push to pass to go to the outside. Outside, is he gonna do it? Davis, I think, is gonna have to relinquish it. Yes, he is, or maybe not. They're gonna come side by side. Are they gonna get out? Whoa, what a pass on the outside.
Yeah, Demerit moves himself up into P6 on the racetrack.
Courtney Terrell has spun it off the final corner, so his troubles continue.
So let's have a look then. Courtney Terrell just about here. There you can see him. Potentially some damage now to that number 18 IMS Productions car. We'll get a look at it as Terrell is on towards pit road.
Just got a little bit, he got overtaken on the inside, and I put him offline and just looped it, which he did have some previous wing damage, so I have to wonder if maybe being on the not the optimal line affected him there. But what really cost him time was having to do a 3-point turn. Never want to do that in a race.
No, you don't. So we've got ourselves one more look then from Courtney Terrell as they work themselves down. You can see who's working side by side will come down into the corner, cycle that camera around. You can see car on his inside, working through the corner, catches the bump, puts the power down, spins that car around, bumps, there you can see, and then this is the bit that you're talking about, trying to do a 3-point turn is never easy, especially when you're in one of those very high horsepower Indy cars.
The incidents continue in Cunningham Corner. Christopher Demerit has spun it around and unfortunately stayed on the gas, got out of the road, but then was in the grass, and the 3-point turns continue. Lost, let's see, about 3 positions there, but primarily lost a lot of time.
Yeah, let's get a look then on board with Christopher Demerit. This is him working down in towards Cunningham Corner. You can see he loses it under braking that time by Aaron.
Yeah, maybe it was a dirty air taking the downforce off. Maybe he just missed his marker, but he had to stab the brakes to prevent from hitting the car in front of him. And, well, I can't remember a road race that had this much... It's been non-stop action for all the wrong reasons. Meanwhile, Chad Peterson's just up front telling everybody, you all have a good time, but my goodness, this has been packed with action.
Yes, and I'm just thinking as well, when Peterson comes up to start lapping some of these guys, he will surely start becoming a little bit more concerned. If you ride along board with Peterson then in that number 29 car as they work themselves down into, Cunningham Corner once again.
Oh, that's and when it does come to lap traffic, and I mean, I've said this every time a driver is winning a race. Right now, Chad Peterson has almost a 7.5-second lead, 19 seconds on third. Sometimes you can have too good of a race, and that's when the most unfortunate of circumstances can happen. So when he gets to the lap traffic, I hope his crew chief spotter, somebody has let him know that all chaos is broken loose, especially in Cunningham Corner. If he wants to make a pass, maybe that isn't the place to do it.
So it's Peterson who leads, from Holgate, from De Jong, from Norton, from Warner. They are your top 5 as it stands right now. We're going to step aside for just one moment and we'll be back with continuing coverage here from Sebring International Raceway. Stick with us.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Ten laps scored complete then in the second round of the 2014 16th Street Racing League on RaceSpotTV, and it is still Chad Peterson who leads the way. Tim Holgate, however, is now 10 seconds back on the racetrack as we get ourselves down towards what will be the first round of pit stops soon, Aaron. We've got to think that Peterson is just got some very good pace. We did see some of this from him last season.
Yes, we did, and let's see, that's Todd Benhausen leaving the pits. We did have Eric Davis make a pit stop, so he did have wing damage, but Peterson right now, an amazing pace. Holgate averaging 1 second slower, so Peterson really is showing a very strong car, and wow, he is just playing on a, right now, 10 laps in, 10-second lead, but pit stops are going to begin. And one thing we got to talk about, this pit lane really throws you right out into traffic on the exit of 1, so we will want to monitor that, see if we have any incidents.
Nefriark having a very close battle right now with Austin Espati and also Kerry Bettenhausen. They are scored in the top 10 right now, as we have had a couple of people coming to make their first stop. But Nefriark, of course, he's been good on the ovals. Moors, we've got
an incident
around as well, and that is Kerry Bettenhausen and down into the hairpin. And this is the thing, once you have a spin down here, you have to wait for ages to then allow all the cars to go past you. Of course, you come back onto the racetrack, guys are going to swarm to try and avoid, but we're going to replay of this. Down under braking again this time into the hairpin.
This car really is unsettled under braking as as we have this replay with Rob Ungelneeks and Brian Simpson spinning Cunningham Corner, another synchronized spin. So the story of this day is these drivers just have not figured out the brake bias and the rear brakes. These cars are losing it under braking on entry. I don't know if we saw that at all last season with the older chassis. This car, you've got to have it perfect, the perfect balance, or it's going to step out.
Because Peterson's just made a pit stop, 8.9 seconds back out onto the racetrack. So Peterson is back out and away. He has got a lap car ahead of him, who thankfully is just able to get past. But you've also got Ryan Norton on pit road. There you see him making his first pit stop of the day. Michael de Jong also pitting from just behind, so they can see it. Ryan Norton out and away, just behind him, de Jong, 8.2 second stop for him. And there you can see Borgenhagen in to make his first pit stop of the day at the conclusion of lap number 12. 8.4 second stop for Borgenhagen. He goes back out onto the racetrack. Porzik, Branch are all on pit road. Very busy place right now as these guys all making their first pit stops of the day. 8.2 second stop there for Porzik. Joe Branch did just make a pit stop one moment ago. He is back out onto the racetrack as Simpson now just making his first stop of the day as well, Aaron.
Making his stop, and that will be... so looking at the lap, so this will be, everybody will be on a two-step strategy. It would look, there's no way somebody could stretch this to a 1. Is there, Will? No way.
In fact, anyone who pitted before lap 11 could potentially be 1 lap short. Let's have a look though at Holgate, because would he be pitting this time by? Comes out of her final corner and he now comes onto pit road, Aaron.
And he comes in, and I do think he will get credit for leading this lap as long as he gets to the line before anybody else. So he will get credit for leading that lap. So our first lead change of the race. Yeah. So now he just needs to get into his box, not miss it. We did see him skid a couple road courses he did it again.
He undershot that time by down into his pit box. So this is going to be a much longer start. We can see these guys were 8 seconds. It was 11 seconds there for Holgate. Holgate is out and away, but the question's going to be where he would come out in relation to the guys around him, because Holgate, of course, was very close to battling for position. Does look as though that he will fall back into P2. Of course, the Merritt had issues earlier on. Now it looks like it's going to be Norton up into P3 as Andreas Warner is now coming out of pit road, and 10-second stop for him.
So that if there's a time that you can't afford that type of mistake, that's really the time. At this moment, Holgate really doesn't have the pace with Peterson. Peterson has found something, and watching Peterson's car, it's in the braking zone. His car isn't skidding around or skittish like a lot of the others. So for right now, Holgate, this is what I mentioned earlier. He's made that small mistake, but he really has the time to deal with as the car got very squirrely under acceleration on that infamous corner of the day. But this is where Holgate needs to just accept where he's at and not make another mistake. That was his mistake last season. So
you can see a couple of other people cycling through pit road, but Chad Peterson is still scored as your race leader. Confirmation of the gap, by the way, we'll get that one up in just one moment's time. Confirmation of the gap on my screen, it does show to be now about 14 seconds on the racetrack. We will get confirmation once they come past the start-finish line. But it is Peterson who is absolutely dominating this event. Good to see Ryan Norton doing so well. He's now into a podium position in 3rd. And de Jong falling down into 4th place. We've got a couple of remaining cars coming out of pit road. Just saw it there as these guys, once again, Peterson working himself down in towards turn number 2. 13.4 seconds is the gap between himself and Tim Holgate.
We do have a battle for the 8th or 9th spot. Borgenhagen's going to go to the inside. Eric Davis on the final corner and thinks better of it. So I think this is the closest battle we have on the track right now for position. But you may know, anybody that pitted lap 11 or before, Eric Davis did pit that lap early. So we will want to make a note of that when we get down to the final lap. Will Eric Davis have enough fuel, or will he have to start slowing up and conserving?
Well, we do know, of course, that these guys do a full pace lap here at Sebring, so they do use quite a bit of fuel on that pace lap. So if they pit on lap 11, then they might just about be able to make it, so long as they can save a little bit of fuel on this run. Just having a look from the rear of Eric Davis to Gary Borgenhagen as they work themselves down to the hairpin once again. Behind, we've also got a little bit of close action going on with Nefriag and Terry Matinson side by side. Nefriag, this is down through the complex, turns 2, 3 and 4. Will ride along board with Nefriag. He's just been passed by Terry Matinson, and he's right behind as they work themselves down into the hairpin again.
Nefri's going to look on the inside of, and is he going to get it? I think if they're going to come out side by side. We saw contact here earlier with Terrell, and he's going to make the pass. Good pass.
Yeah, that was so with Austin Espity there running himself in the 10th position. So having a look from the rear then of Nefriag. That was a great bit of battling there for pretty much the first half of the lap, and we're going to get another look at this. This is all the way down from about turn 2 on the racetrack as we pick it up, and they were side by side coming out of 1, side by side through 2, almost made contact into 2, pretty much side by side through the entire sequence of corners. Then Espity gets back ahead, and that's when Nefriag just had an absolute barnstorm where we run down to the hairpin.
And it takes a lot of faith in the other driver to come out of the hairpin. It's one thing to come out of the hairpin side by side, but then you have that little switchback. It is so easy to hook wheels there. So good job by both drivers to avoid contact. And what a battle. That was great.
That was pretty awesome, if you ask me. And there you can see they remained 2 wide. They worked themselves out of that corner. And then it was Nefriag who was just about able to get out ahead. As now, we've had that first round of pit stops done, and things, I say, have calmed down.
We have another, not really well. We had an incident. Borkenhagen got into Eric Davis and turned him around on this previous lap. So Borkenhagen, Eric Davis had been running a defensive line. I don't know if that played into it, but Borkenhagen stuck it in there, and they made contact.
Yeah, and you can see some very big rear wing damage to Gary Borkenhagen as well. Just trying to see if we can pick this one up. You can see the damage there to Borkenhagen's rear wing, which is completely bent up, Aaron.
I don't know if that was from the Terrell incident, but Gary Borkenhagen has sort of been a ping pong ball at this race so far. Just been in the middle of everything. But watching his car right now, it seems stable. I don't know how, but it's still running.
Yeah, and he continues to run in the 6th place on the racetrack. Having a look down the field, and there you can see as we have a look at Todd Bettenhausen. He is very close to the rear right now of Randy Freeman. Buck Cordell just ahead of them in P20. Got a little close racing going on, some lap traffic coming into play there as well. Some great, nice battles going on. It's outside of the top 20. It's always easy to forget what these guys are doing, but you can see that Todd Bettenhausen is working himself with some lap traffic right now. That is Andreas Warner, actually. No, I take that back. Sorry, Todd Bettenhausen being put a lap down.
Yeah, put a lap down, but you're right. That battle for 19th, very intense, and we can sometimes sort of be top-heavy looking at the front, but there are battles throughout the field. And even with all the spins, all the contact, we still have 18 cars on the lead lap. Amazing, considering how many spins and incidents we have witnessed.
It is pretty impressive from there. You see the gap between Kevin Kress and Vic Cordell in that battle for P19 on the racetrack. Just ahead, though, Austin Espity isn't allowing Nefriag to really drive away with this one in that battle for P9 on the racetrack, Aaron.
Yeah, it's one thing. You can be holding up a driver, they get around you, and then you may find out why they were faster. You may pick up a different line, a different braking point. And another thing, when you get a driver in front of you, you find this gear that you didn't know you have, and you can pick up half a second that you run by yourself not get. But when you get that car in front of you, as Nefri goes a little bit wide, that's going to allow Austin right back into this battle. And is he going to be able to do it? I don't know. Good run, but nowhere to go with it.
No, as we just cut away from it for just one moment, but then you can see that Nefri now has quite a lot of trouble behind, as Expertise now within a quarter of a second in that battle for P9 on the racetrack. They work themselves one more time down into the S's, actually getting close to the halfway point of this race. We'll hit that this time by, and this is a gap now separated by about 4/10 of a second on the racetrack.
Austin's
and here comes
gonna make a run.
back down to the inside.
And that's the thing, when you see that, I think Nefri was driving in his mirror, he knew Austin was coming, and so easy to overdrive a corner when you start thinking about the car behind you. But we know Nefri can make some spectacular passes, so this battle is not over.
As we'll have a look there from our chopper camera, there you can see those two drivers. So they work themselves back down in towards turn number 1. Espati back up into P9, and then Nefri now back up into the 10th place on the racetrack. As there you can see, that gap isn't going to be getting up any further, because Nefri is back on the attack. Now scored in that 9th position. Looks like Nefri wants to play this game again.
And Terry Mattinson's liking what he's seeing. He is closing up on this duo. But what we saw Nefri do there under braking was just stick his nose out, just and he's doing it again. Just trying to get into Austin's head. It's amazing how much psychological effect it has when the car behind you just sticks their nose out just a little bit. You take notice of that, and it is so easy to miss your braking marker and go just a little bit wide.
As these two guys continue to battle for P9, P8 and P9.
Oh, Austin almost had issues there. Definitely sorry. That's going to allow Nefri to the inside. That's not typically a passing zone, and he's going to get it.
Wide. Yes, the Espati runs wide there, and that is going to allow Nefri easily to go past. Replays coming up.
And that's what you want to do. You want to get in their head. These two drivers are just having almost a psychological warfare on the racetrack with poking it, looking to the inside, and Nefri gets a little bit loose now, so Austin's going to be back on the attack, but good stuff with these two.
So this is the replay then with Austin Espati. This is where he goes off, just overshoots the corner, gets himself into the dirt. There you see, right hand side of your screen, Nefri easily able to get past, and you're right, Terry Mattinson is loving this one right now, Aaron.
Yeah, he's loving it, but should these two maybe make contact, that love will quickly turn into fear. Austin's going to go to the inside into turn 1. Side-by-side does not work here. Nefri knows that, backs out. Can he do the crossover move? Not this time.
Nope, so Espati then moves himself back up into what is P9 on the racetrack. I'm losing count of who's in front between these two guys, because it's mighty close between them.
The lap graph at the end of this race is just going to be back and forth between these two. It's going to be easy to figure out where these two were, because every lap this position's changing hands.
And this is a great scrap that we have going on. Just to let you know, out front, by the way, it's Chad Peterson still leading the way. It's Rob Ungling's there on pit road, coming out of pit road as we speak. After what I can only say as being an incredibly long pit stop there. 9 minutes and 29.6 seconds, Aaron.
Anytime you use minutes in a pit stop, your day's just not going well. As Nefri's going to once again look to the inside. Last time through here, Espati went wide, and he goes wide again. Nefri's going to make the pass.
Yep, so move Nefri back up into that position. And it won't be that lap chart you were talking about. It won't change, because of course this has all happened in the space of 1 lap this time by. These guys are having one of the great scraps that we see here in the 16 Street Racing League, and it shows again just how competitive this series is.
The only thing I think that I can recall that had this much passing was the first few laps of the Indy Road Course last year with the varying levels of downforce. And Espati's going to go to the inside. Nefri says no.
No, as they work themselves out there of Sunset Bend. But Espati, of course, this is where he moved that move last time. Is he going to try and go side by side again? As they work themselves down into turn number 1, side by side. And there you can see Espati. And again, Arg taking a wide burst, but Arg will do it on the outside. What a defensive play there by Nefri Arg. I was going to say that was right into Seattle Seahawks territory, but after the game they had today, we're going to have to find another team to compare him to.
Unbelievable. No offense to every other driver in this race, but I could watch these two battle for the entire race. This is classic, great, epic stuff. Unbelievable.
So, we have still got a race leader. Here he is. It is Chad Peterson, and here is the gap now to Tim Holgate. It's 12.5 seconds. That last lap, though, Holgate was faster than Peterson.
Yes, the lead at the start of the race was 1 second a lap. Peterson was faster, but slowly Holgate is narrowing the margin. So, I don't know. Does Holgate actually have something?
We will find out. There you can see the gap between Holgate and Norton, 5 seconds on the racetrack. Norton, there you can see him coming into your shot right now in the number 84 car. 13-second advantage over Mikel de Jong. And then from de Jong to Warner is 8 seconds. Warner recovered back into that 5th position. There you can see him on your screen right now. Got himself a 2.3 second advantage to Gary Borgenhagen. But Andreas Warner, it's been a bit of a rough race for him, of course, after that spin in the early going.
Yes, and it seems pretty much everybody's had a spin outside the front 3. Norton had an off while we were in the midst of a replay. Didn't spin it, but really 4th or about 5th on back has had either contact or a spin of some sort.
Good battle heating up here between Joe Branch and Eric Davis for P7 on the racetrack. Now Joe Branch has had himself an absolutely stunning start to this event because he qualified for it in the 19th spot, now running in P7, Aaron.
Yeah, great run. Joe Branch really is a... we saw this last year on him with several of the road courses when misfortune didn't strike him. He'd qualify in the back and slowly work his way up and having a stellar run right now. Meanwhile, behind him, that P9 position has been flip-flopped yet again. Austin's back around Nefri.
Yep, there you can see it as we have a look from the rear of Austin Esparti. The gap is, well, about 0.5 of a second on the racetrack between these two, as it's been for the last 5 to 6 laps or so. And of course, Aaron, we're only about 2-3 laps away from another round of pit stops.
And for the drivers up front, pit stops, you can afford a little bit of a mistake. There's a margin. What could settle this battle for P9 is a pit stop. If somebody can beat the other person in and out by 1 or 2 seconds and maybe break the draft, that could be the difference.
Riding along board with Eric Davis in that P8 position as they work themselves down in towards Sunset Bend. Once again, tried to make a very big lunge as they worked themselves into that corner, but not quite close enough to Joe Branch there as we go back along board as he's onto pit road.
He's onto pit road, and sometimes, well, remember, he came in a lap early last time.
I don't think
15 laps. No, 15 laps. That's going to be, wow.
He will have 14 timed laps he will need to do at the end of this race. So for Eric Davis, I think the Banshee Autosport crew there need to get themselves a new calculator because I don't think this is going to work at all for them, Aaron.
No, and he's going to have to, on ovals we talk about fuel strategy on having to commit. He's going to have to commit to not having fuel mapping down, not having as much power as, and oh, that's going to be a long stint here trying to stretch it out.
So Eric Davis is the first of our guys to make their second pit stop of the day. A couple of other people, we will see them on pit road, I am sure, this lap. But Peterson, as he works himself through turn number 1, 21 laps of this race is now scored complete for him. His last lap, a 142.555. He is, though, 2 seconds a lap slower than what he was able to do in the first stint of this race. And that gap is now down to 11.5 seconds between himself and Tim Holgate.
Very interesting, maybe on the stint. Maybe he had not necessarily a run-in with lap traffic, but maybe he locked up at some point in time. Maybe he heated up the tires, but definitely not the pace of the first stint. You're right.
John Porzak battling with Terry Mattinson now for a top 10 position as this sequence of pit stops carries on. You can see actually Osman Esparti is now back behind Nefri Args to ride along board with Esparti as they work themselves down in towards Sunset Bend. Will Esparti go for it? Not into the final corner. But Aaron, we do know that Esparti's favourite place is
there he goes!
And there you can see down into the inside. They will stay side by side, a drag race towards turn number 1. This is going to be fascinating as this race continues to develop, and they are side by side as they come down in towards that first corner. And Esparti isn't going to be able to make it work on the outside line the same way that Arg was able to do so earlier.
Wow, this, I don't know if I've ever seen this much side-by-side battling on a road course. This is just, I think this is a race that these two drivers are going to remember for a long time. Sometimes it isn't the wins you remember. It's the races where you were in a battle the entire race, and for these two drivers, if this continues to the end, whoever finishes ahead of the other is going to feel like they won this race.
Yeah, and they will have, of course, one more pit stop to do as well as they work themselves on that run to the corner, which has kind of settled down a little bit now, Cunningham corner. And of course, though, once we get that final round of pit stops, as I say, a big wiggle there from Austin Esposito. That puts him now back to 1.1 second behind Nefriag. Let's get a look at that.
When you said settled down, I instantly thought, oh boy, here comes the commentator's curse, and just about struck in a big way.
So let's get a look then. This is on board with Austin Esposito through Cunningham corner. You see, just as he put the foot down, very good though to react as quickly as he did. So he avoided himself spinning that car into the grass, as we've seen so many people do here today.
Yes, so many drivers, you're right, very good job, and especially when the tires, as old as they are, it's even hard, the degree of difficulty to save one of these cars goes up, so great bit, but wonder if that margin now will allow Nefri to maybe stretch it out. I don't know. I think Austin is just within, just getting a whiff of that draft down the straightaway to stay in this.
Yeah, he's 0.9 of a second back from Nefriag right now as they work themselves down again in towards turn 1. And that battle behind them as well, there you can see Terry Mattinson. The gap between himself and John Porzik is about 1 second on the racetrack. We haven't talked much about this battle, but Porzik's having a good run there in that Banshee Autosport cars, and right along board with him, trying to catch up to his teammate, Terry Mattinson.
And just like Joe Branch, John Porzak has had a great race. Started 23rd, up to 11th, and quite possibly does have the pace to potentially get up into the top 10, maybe even 9th or 8th should things work out, but Porzak showing some really good pace here on the road course today.
And Peterson's on to pit road for his second pit stop of the day. So let's keep an eye out, because pit road again becoming that very busy place, Aaron.
And Ryan Norton also in, and pitting right now. This is where you don't really need to push it if you're not in a battle. The worst thing you can do is speed. It's worth, in my opinion, if you have a 5-second gap to the car in front, 5-second car gap to behind, it's worth sacrificing that 1 second to just make sure you don't speed, because a 15-second penalty, nobody can really afford that.
Rob Ungerlink's long pit stop for him, but we've got more people, of course, coming onto pit road over the next couple of laps. So Ungerlink's is actually, I think he's stalled on pit road. He's just waiting there. But Peterson is back out onto racetrack. He's down into second place for the time being, as now Borkenhagen is on pit road as well. There you can see Gary Borkenhagen out and away as he will come out of pit road. Joe Branch is currently scored on pit road. Busy place for all these guys on pit road right now, as Branch leads out a train of guys, and you can see them all coming back down into turn 1. And we've got Nefri on pit road, Mattinson on pit road, and also Porzik on pit road.
And they're all pitted nose to tail. Looks to be a very good stop for Nefri. I think he's going to actually stretch out some time on Mattinson, as he's going to get to where he can throttle up a lot sooner. A great stop for Nefri, I believe.
Yeah, good stop for Nefri. We'll see where he will come out in relation to Austin Esposito once Esposito makes his pit stop, which we believe will be this coming time by, as Porzik comes back out about 2.1 seconds behind Terry Mattinson. There you can see Nefriag as well. His pit stop time, 8.1 seconds on the gun. So nice and simple for him, as here's Holgate on pit road.
Holgate on to pit road, and just, now he's out of pit road. Looked to be a very good stop. No speeding, back on track, and he's going to maintain the position. Obviously, he will relinquish the lead, but he will lead another lap.
Yeah, 8.4 second stop then for Tim Holgate. As we've now got Andreas Warner on pit road as well to make what will be his second and final stop of the day. And for Warner, it's been a race where arguably he could be fighting for that podium. Just lost it with that steady spin down at Cunningham.
Absolutely, yeah, and unfortunately, yeah, you're right. That one spin in that series of synchronized spins really did cost him a podium. He did have the pace to be up there, but really, this race is about not who really is the fastest, but who can make the least amount of mistakes.
Austin Espity on pit road then in that number 16 last lap motorsports car. Where will he come out in relation to, of course, Nefriarg? We've got to keep our eye out on him as he prepares to come back out onto the racetrack. Let's have a look on board then. You can see Nefri is actually coming into shot. Where is it going to be? Nefriarg is ahead already.
Ahead, but Austin's within striking distance, so I think this battle is going to rage to the end, and as a commentator, that's why I didn't want to see one of these drivers take about a 3 or 4 second lead. This has been entertaining, and we're going to see this battle follow through all the way to the end with 10 laps to go.
There you can see Nefriarg in the yellow car sweeping past Espity coming out of pit road, and that battle remains on the racetrack. It still is, however, Chad Peterson who leads the way here with 26 laps of this race scored complete. And just behind him as well, you've got Tim Holgate in second, Ryan Norton third, Andres Way in fourth, Mikhail de Jong in fifth, Gary Borgenhagen, Austin Espity, Eric Davis, Joe Branch, Steve Richardson. They are your field as it stands right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step away for just one moment and we'll be back with the final part of today's race here from Sebring. Stick with us. Having a look high above here at Sebring International Raceway as we're into the closing stages of today's event. We're entered along with Aaron Likens here on RaceSpotTV. 27 laps, Aaron, are in the books, but we still got plenty of racing to finish off here.
Indeed, lots of racing to go. 2 real battles on the racetrack, Borkenhagen and Werner for the 5th spot, and the just amazing battle between Nefri Og and Austin Espity for the 9th spot. So even though the leader has quite a bit of distance, the battle mid-pack is absolutely stellar.
It is interesting to note that that gap isn't anywhere near as big as it was earlier. It's now just 7 seconds on the
Wow.
racetrack. So Holgate, yes, he's still got only about 8 laps to go, but 7 seconds, a lot of traffic has just been passed, of course, by Chad Peterson. I am having a look to see at his lap times to come across the start-finish line, whether that will have something as an indication to tell us, because he did have to go through a lot of traffic that last time by. But his last lap coming up on my screen as a 142.2, so it wasn't that bad for him at all, really.
No, but another second got shaved, so Holgate, let's not count him out. If he can continue this time gained, Holgate has a shot at this, Will.
Yeah, as Holgate, we're riding along board with him. There you can see the gap to leader, 7 seconds as it stands on the racetrack. A little bit of lap traffic to deal with, of course, so that is one of those is Carrie Bettenhausen scored 1 lap down in the number 77 car. And then you also have the number 11 machine of Ellis Stevens as well, who he will be going past before too long. Oh, bit of a wiggle there as well for Holgate. That's actually going to cost him quite a bit of time. It cost him 1 second, actually, as Holgate just had a big moment down at the hairpin, Aaron.
Yeah, and that's really, if he wanted this win, he can't afford that. He can't lose a second, as behind Holgate, Kerry Bettenhausen goes for a spin in Cunningham corner. But for Holgate, can't afford any bobbles right now. He has to run, if he wants to win this, he has to run 7 qualifying quality laps.
So let's have a look then to see what then happened to Kerry Bettenhausen coming down into Cunningham corner, just losing that car, again under braking. I think actually, because Holgate was coming down with less speed because we had that moment in the centre of the apex of the previous corner, I think that Bettenhausen just didn't realise how slow it would be coming down into that braking zone.
And we've seen that a lot, reactionary spins of the car behind closing up too hard, and too much brake pedal will spin this car around so fast. I don't know what our spin, if we had a spin counter, we would need to add an extra digit for how many spins we've seen down there today.
I tell you what though, we've also got a great battle developing. Guess between who once again, Aaron?
It couldn't be Nefri and Espati, could it?
It indeed is, and there you can see the gap. It is 0.3 of a second as they work themselves back down in towards Cunningham. Great battle that has been going on now for at least 15 laps of this event, and really these two guys are just showing how it is to race cleanly, professionally, and with a lot of fun.
And I have to wonder if those two cars maybe have a rubber band, because the two of them just can't break away. Whoever gets out in front just can't break out, and this battle, I think, is going to continue to the last lap. And the most fitting way this race could end is with these two cars side by side at the line.
Just to let you know, Tim Holgate, he has now fallen to about 9.1 seconds behind the race leader. There you can see confirmation as we are right along board with Tim Holgate. So after a good middle stint, Holgate is falling away once again, and it all started with that mistake that you saw him have at the hairpin. And this is what you alluded to early on in this broadcast, Aaron. After Holgate makes that one small mistake, it really does tense him up a lot. From there on in, it becomes a lot more difficult for him to gain time.
Exactly. It's very hard to have a perfect race. At some point in time, you are going to drop a wheel, you are going to get a little bit of wheel spin, and for Holgate, he is very quick until that first mistake. Then it just seems to be a series of small mistakes piles up, and I think back to Barber last year, he had second or third in the bag, and those mistakes piled up, and well, the race didn't pan out the way he wanted to. So for Holgate right now, lost another 7/10. He needs to accept second place. This will be a great points day and move forward. I mean, Peterson has been the class of the field. Holgate got within, not really striking distance by any means, but he made it closer than what it had been, but just accept second and move on.
Espati's fallen back actually now to 1.8 seconds behind Nefri Arg. There you can see Arg at the front of your screen in the Pentol car. Then you can see Austin Espati is right along board with him in the number 16 last lap motorsports car. So a bit of a moment for Espati, costing himself about a second on the racetrack, but we know with 5 laps to go next time by, this race is still on like Donkey Kong.
Yeah, it's still on. This has been a battle of just slips just a little bit. All it will take is Nefri to slip just a little bit. And here's another thing. This is the furthest these two drivers have been apart, I think, all race, minus the pit stops. And you can get now somewhat overly relaxed. When you're in a battle, you got the adrenaline going, your concentration is better. Now that the battle isn't as heated as it was before, you can make a mental error just because you aren't 110% focused. It's very easy to just become complacent with what you're doing and drop a wheel off. Sometimes it's easier being in a battle than
track, and that is Gary Borkenhagen. Sorry, I was just about to say how Andreas Warner had fallen down into the 6th position, but Gary Borkenhagen has had himself a moment. Guess what corner it was, Aaron?
Would have to be Cunningham, and he lost it right on the transition from the concrete to the asphalt, I think. Well, the varying surfaces, that's the point that he lost that car.
Yeah, so replay is up on your screen for this one then. Gary Borkenhagen in the number 24 broken arrow machine, working himself down into Cunningham corner. as he comes onto the brakes. That car just loops around for him now. And it doesn't really loop as much as he just, I think, got a little bit of oversteer. And he just kind of like aborted trying to save it because I think he was worried he'd do more damage if he did.
I would agree with that assessment exactly. Keep the car in one piece. He did, and with 5 laps to go, he's got the speed. Werner doesn't have this 5th place wrapped up. Borkenhagen has shown some amazing speed, even though his car looks like it's done.
Werner's off.
Werner's off, so this battle will heat up. This race for these two for the last spot of the top 5 is going to come down to the wire.
Yeah, so then this is Andres Warner. Let's have a look, see what happened to him. This wasn't Cunningham Corner. This was actually turn 2 on the racetrack. He just overshoots it. Same place, of course, that Cook and Tell had their incident back in last year's race. Didn't see a first lap incident, but turn 2 is so easy to overshoot there.
As Werner just proved it, and what could have caused that, he may have known that if he wanted 5th, he had to be absolutely on it, and he was on it just a little bit too much, and that's going to allow Borkenhagen now to stake a claim at this 5th place spot. This battle's going to come down, and Borkenhagen's closing quickly. I don't know if this is going to be much of a battle at all. No,
you can see the gap is about 0.6 of a second on the racetrack as it stands right now. So we're having a look from the rear of Andres Warner, and of course, if any of these guys has got used to their push the button arrow, with 4 laps to go, this is that time to use it.
Yeah, that's one thing we haven't alluded to much. This would be the first 16th Street race where the push to pass is in play, and for some drivers they want to use it early, but I want to keep it for the end when it matters.
Then they work themselves now out of Sunset Bend. There will be 3 laps to go, and the next time your leader passes the start-finish line, your leader right now, there you can see him, is still Chad Peterson, as we ride along forward with him, and got himself a nice size of gap over that 10 seconds now on the racetrack. It's back up to
10 seconds, and one thing, we are getting down to the final 3 laps. One thing we did make note of, Eric Davis, who had pitted early twice, he's running 7th. Does he have enough fuel?
Well, we'll find that one out. I tell you what, we've got a great battle here between Tony Tinson, John Paulsack, and Austin Espartee. Something's happened to Espartee, falling him now down into 12th spot on the racetrack. Still up 7 positions from where he started, but he's now hunting down Paulsack and Matinson. In fact, Paulsack now is just literally a couple of tenths of a second back from Matinson as they come down in towards turn number 1.
Yes, Espartee had a spin, and something happened to Nefri too to allow Matinson to get so close. So got to see what happened to Nefri, because Nefri lost a lot of time as well at some point in time. Yes, Nefri had a spin.
Last lap.
And
let's guess where it was, shall we?
Yeah, there's only one place that comes to mind, and that's exactly where it was. And they're coming down here again. 5 cars, 4 positions. So Cunningham Corner, I don't think, has seen the last spin.
Yeah, and we did actually see a moment. This is with Espartee, actually. This is his spin. So we'll see if we can pick it up here. There is Espartee spinning. And then you'll just see all of these guys trying to get around him as they come out of the corner. So that is what happened first. That dropped Espartee to the rear of that pack. So that is the reason why Espartee now is down the field. And I think actually also Nefri had to slow it down a little bit just to try and avoid running over Espartee. So right along board with him now in 12th place.
One thing to note, there is this pack, and behind them is our race leader. This pack, though, as hard as they are fighting, if I were Peterson right now, I have the time. I don't know if I'd back off of this 10 seconds. I'd let this group go a little bit.
Yeah, he has 2 laps to go, and the next time he comes past the start-finish line. So we're having a look now at Chad Peterson. He is right there in that mix. There you can see the view from on board with him. And there you can see the gap to Tim Holgate. It's 9-10 seconds. And Peterson!
Just about threw it away. Unbelievable, and that's why you don't want to mix it up with lap traffic. Oh my goodness, that was almost disastrous.
Yeah, let's see if we can get ourselves a look at this then as they come out of the corner. You can just see that car just got so loose on him, Aaron.
So loose indeed. And right now you can see Peterson is letting those cars in front of him go. He has the time. No reason to mix it up.
As there you can see, big wiggle for Chad Peterson, leading the race, but now he is backed off the pace completely because of this scrap that we have with Nefriarg running himself in 9th, Terry Mattinson in 10th, John Portek in 11th, and then Austin Espity in 12th. And there you can see, just back of your shot is Chad Peterson. You actually see him now, and he really has dropped off the pace, because that last time by, he's basically starting a lap 3 seconds slower than what he would have been doing the lap before, Aaron.
And he'll be coming to the white flag. The cars in front of him will be coming to 2 to go. And for Peterson, he just has to hope that the cars in front of him, as Nefri, does Nefri have a moment? Yes, he does. Nefri to the back, and Nefri's going to spin in front of the leader almost. Oh, for Peterson, his heart, this race is not... This is what I was talking about. You'd have a race that goes too good, and is Nefri going to think about going up the inside? Oh, please don't do that.
Yeah, we will get the white flag this time by. We'll get ourselves a
look that goes wide
of the issue with Nefriarg. White flag is out this time by. One more lap to go at Sebring, but let's get a look at what was that moment for Nefriarg, working himself out of Le Mans corner, turn number 16. So it happened around here. Just go on board then with Nefriarg, and it was about 20 seconds down the road from here. You can see working himself through this section. It was all nice and fine for Nefriarg, but then it all came unglued, Aaron, as he worked himself through 15 and 16.
Yeah, such a good top 10 run comes to an end. I mean, he's still in the race, but it's going to be hard to get a top 12, especially if he is behind the race leader, because his race will be over this lap while the 3 cars in front of him battle it out as they come down to Cunningham corner. Our leader has to hope everybody gets through here cleanly.
Down into Cunningham for the final time then for Chad Peterson. Don't forget though, these guys ahead, the likes of Porzek, Mattinson, Espity, they still have one more lap to go. They are ahead of the race leader. They have not yet seen the white flag. There you can see this battle. And then also you can see Andres Warner side by side down to the inside will go Gary Borgenhagen in the battle for P5. We almost forgot about it, but Borgenhagen makes the move in the final lap there.
Yeah, very good battle there. Borgenhagen getting back up inside the top 5. Amazing run for him considering he had contact on lap 2 or 3 being completely sideways. So good return up, but here comes Peterson in the final corner, Will.
Chad Peterson works himself out of the final corner for the final time. He was able to hang on. Chad Peterson will take victory here at Sebring International Raceway. Tim Holgate working himself now out of the final bend. He will take second place, and then it's a bit of a gap, but working himself now through Sunset Bend is Ryan Norton. He will round out your podium. So 2 Broken Arrow drivers on the podium here today. Mikel de Jong will come home in the 4th position, and then 5th will be Gary Borgenhagen. And let's go back to have a look, see if anything happens on this final lap. But Espity, he is close to the rear of a little bit of Mattinson even, as they work themselves out the hairpin back down towards Cunningham one more time, Aaron.
Yep, one more time. This has been the corner that we have talked about so much, and just got to get through it one more time. And they do.
Yep, so no issues there, but Espity, they work themselves now, just literally half a lap to go in this event. What a great race that we had. It's a shame that some of it did come down a little bit too early. In fact, has Espity gone past? Yes, Mattinson's just gone off the racetrack there. So Mattinson, after Cunningham corner, makes a mistake, and that has allowed Austin Espity to then get past. Let's get ourselves a replay of this on board with Terry Mattinson, Aaron.
Oh, the pressure on the last lap. We see that so often. You don't make a mistake in a corner for 34 times, and it comes down to that final lap, and there you go.
So then, let's get one more look at that from Mattinson's angle. And this is, they say, they worked themselves out of Cunningham corner. It was then the next tower corner that they worked themselves into here, and just a slide from Mattinson, but it puts him down a position. Espity somehow gets back into 8th. 9th is Terry Mattinson, and what a race that we all had just there. But what a victory though for Chad Peterson when all was said and done.
Yeah, what an amazing race by Peterson. It's always good when you win a race and we don't mention your name that much. That means you had a very smooth sailing, uneventful race, but it was not uneventful for those behind.
So then, ladies and gentlemen, let's get a look at your final race results here from Sebring International Raceway. And it is Chad Peterson who comes out on top from Tim Holgate by 6.3 seconds. Fastest lap of the race was also that of Chad Peterson by a tenth of a second over Holgate. Ryan Norton comes home in the third position. Mikel de Jong in fourth. Gary Balkenhagen in fifth. Andres Warner in sixth. Joe Bryant seventh. Eric Davis eighth. John Paulsik ninth. And then Austin Esparti rounds out your top 10. Terry Tinton lost out on a top 10 place on the final lap of the race. Nefru Arg in 12th. Of course, he had some issues with a couple of laps to go. A couple of British drivers, Steve Richardson and Ellis Stevenson, P13, P14. Gary Bettenhausen, Hunter Smith, Brian Simpson, Kevin Kress, Vic Cordell, and Chuck Eisenberth round out the rest of your top 20. So you see the rest of the results up on your screen. We'll be back in just 40 seconds time with interviews here from Sebring International Raceway. So then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to post-race coverage here from Sebring International Raceway, where Chad Peterson able to take victory. And we have him now here on RaceSpotTV, and Aaron is stood by with him.
Chad Peterson, what a run you had. First, well, tell us about your car. What was the difference that you had?
I had no idea, man. Andrew come through with a base set, and Gary and Ryan Norton worked on getting a couple changes in and everything, and that thing was just on rails. That was awesome.
We saw a lot of drivers losing it under braking for Cunningham Corner, and I noted in the broadcast that your car really was glued under braking there. Would you agree that's where your car really was the difference, under braking?
I'd say so. It felt pretty stable under braking. Didn't ever feel like it was getting loose. The only thing you really had to pay attention to was off the corner. Putting down the power with all the bumps and everything was a nightmare. Nonetheless, you finally touch the ground, and it just bounces back up in the air again.
Yeah, the bumps, we saw lots of drivers lose it, especially on the transition of the pavement. But those last 4 laps, the intense battle in front of you, were you wondering, oh my, is this race going too good?
Yeah, because I kind of had races go like that before, so I kind of just put it in Fuel Map 5 to wait and see what happened, and then there was the one car sideways, and just kind of hoping and praying he stayed off track while I got past.
Yeah, everybody knows sometimes you have a race go too well, but an absolutely great win, which having that big enough lead, you were able to sort of back off of that very intense battle. But you already thanked some people. Do you want to thank anybody else for your win here tonight?
Everybody from over at Broken Arrow. Those guys did a lot of work on the set, and I didn't change a whole lot with it. I was kind of spoon-fed the thing, so Ryan Norton, Troy Fox, Andrew, Gary Borkenhagen, Brendan Lichtenberg, Mike Perry, Ellis, Rob Unglenikes over there, and Steve Richardson. Awesome group of guys. Again.
Absolutely dominating performance, leading 33 laps, only 2 laps when you were in the pits. A stellar performance. That's Chad Peterson, your Sebring race winner.
Chad Peterson takes victory here at Sebring. Tim Holgate second, Ryan Norton third, and Ryan, podium here at Sebring.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's about as shocked as I am. Third place feels like a win for me at a road course, so pretty happy and great to see Chad do well. So it was a fun day.
Got yourself a good qualifying position inside the top 5. Then you saw a couple of people mess up at Cunningham Corner. Just how tough was that corner for you and the rest of your teammates today?
It was no tougher than the rest of them. They were all pretty tough. If you drove the car a little too hard, got the front end bouncing, they would really get loose on you. And I had problems in probably the hairpin more than anything. That was probably my weak point. I was overdriving the entry and just pushing. Of course, when you do that, the exit gets a little hairy. So it's a tough track, but it was a lot of fun.
Tough track. We have seen some good performances from you here before, but after road course and an oval, got to be thinking now big picture. Such a good, strong performance on the road course. We know how good you are on the ovals. Must mean that you must be thinking potentially for the championship now.
It's really too early to think about that. It is really nice to get a good result on a road course and try to get a good start going there and not rely on all the drop weeks to save me. So too early to think about championship, but one spot behind Tim. If I'm going to catch him, I got to finish at or near him. So eventually I'm going to have to beat him. So hopefully I can do that on the ovals and just try to maintain on the road.
Ryan Norton coming home third place here today in the Broken Arrow machine. Tim Holgate comes home in the second position. Tim, it was a race where it just seemed to be that you had the pace, just not in that first sector. Sorry, in that first stint even.
Yeah, I think we were being a little bit conservative to save the tires on the first 2 stints, really. It wasn't until the third stint where I started to feel how much I could push the car before it started to fall off. Just didn't have enough practice this week, so came into this kind of blind. Knew we had a good, fast car that could probably compete, but once Chad stepped away at the very beginning, there was just no clawing that back.
Say it's been a tough race for a lot of drivers concerned. We saw you also have a couple of issues down at Cunningham Corner. Was that the one corner that really stood out for you here today as being that really tough place, or was, as Ryan alluded to a moment ago, the entire place just really hard today?
It was. I was driving much more conservatively than I would have had on other tracks that are smoother. The bumps here definitely affect the car. You got to have the wherewithal to have a premonition really to catch the car before it hits the bumps the wrong way. There wasn't really any given corner I thought I was struggling with. The balance of the car started to go to an oversteer late in the stint, and I had to get with the tools to dial that out. So I lost some time finding, learning the car, learning the track, and overall, I'd say it was a real fun race. I mean, it's fun to have a car that's kind of you're having to rein in versus a car that's just on rails.
Now, of course, last year the championship came so close for you. Is it time to start thinking about the championship again? And if yes, what do you need to do compared to last year? Now you've got a couple of races under your belt to make sure that you can get yourself into championship position before too long.
Well, you got to start it out taking one race at a time, and that's what we're all here to do, is just to win races. The championship view, yeah, it's good to start thinking about it, but you really can't, you can't put yourself in a championship mindset until you're late in the season and you're actually there. Beyond that, you're just looking to win races, compete, finish as high as possible.
Tim Holgate coming home in the second place here today. Very quickly, we will have a chat with Christopher Demerit out in the very early going. Christopher, what happened?
Pretty much what everyone was dealing with, looseness stuff on the bumps out of the corners, and wasn't conservative enough and pushed too far and spun a couple times, with the last one being into the wall.
Well, tough break after a good qualifying. Does the qualifying give you a little bit of sense of relief in some way to see that at least on one lap pace you've got the speed to match it with some of the big guns in the series this year?
Yeah, I was not expecting to be anywhere near the top 5. I was expecting to be mid-pack, maybe 10th. But the fact that I qualified high gives me a sense of relief that I'm not as bad as I think I am on road courses. I just need to work on my consistency.
Christopher Demerit finishing outside the top 20 out in the early going here today. And Aaron, next week we go to Phoenix. So from an oval to a road course to a short oval, things are going to get really interesting.
Oh, Phoenix every year is one of the biggest races we have in terms of contact, controversy, close battles, and I'm expecting nothing short again of that this season as we head to Phoenix. One of the more difficult ovals we go to, and what we've seen this season, it's going to be wide open. I think we can name a dozen drivers that could win next week.
A resurfaced Phoenix for the third round of the 16th Street Racing League. That will be in a 1 week's time here on RaceSpotTV. Congratulations to Chad Peterson claiming his first victory in the 16th Street Racing League. This has been a RaceSpotTV presentation of the 16th Street Racing League here on RaceSpotTV. Myself, Will Vincent, and Aaron Likens will talk to you all next time. Bye-bye.